All right, so we are live here, day 2, Deeper Learning New York, with Julie Meltzer. Thank you so much for taking a couple minutes out of your breakfast and connection hour. So welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having me,
Absolutely.
Jonah. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, no, the energy's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, we're at day 2. Day 1, deep dives. We had some students kick off the morning with some music. And I'm just curious to hear from your perspective, because I'm buzzing around and I don't really get to be a learner and do that. So share a little bit with our listeners. What are you hearing? What are you feeling? What are you seeing? What's the energy? And some takeaways that you had day 1.
Okay, well, first of all, it's been really fun to be in the space and to have sort of the East Coast version from the San Diego version, so that's really great. So glad that you and your team are making that possible.
Yes.
I went to a great deep dive with Aruna Patel in the Center for Civic Engagement, and our work really meshes well, and we figured that out, and we connected. It's been great to connect with so many people from your team. Keynote was well worth waiting for, even with the delay.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
Great. Made me think even more about the fact that, you have to have the vision, and then you have to figure out what the pathway is going to be to that vision and how you're going to support everybody to walk that way. And walk that way willingly and enthusiastically, and to share the vision and build it together.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest challenge for leaders right now, is to figure that out. It's not so much, I think that the vision is coalescing.
Right.
I think you have amazing and enormous vision, and I think that's compelling. And I think where leaders are going to need some help here is sort of thinking about, where are we now? What's our capacity for change? Where are we going to change first? How are we going to do this? How are we going to work it? And then also, how are we going to message it? How are we going to communicate it? How are we going to work with our students, our parents, our staff, our communities, to make sure that we are celebrating the journey?
You know, thank you for kind of breaking it down like that. It resonates deeply with me. I have a colleague, a mentor, friend, where he would always talk about current state, future state, and this tension bridge that lives between it. And then kind of, what are the leadership moves that it's going to take to kind of walk across that? What are the teacher moves? What are the Board of Education moves, the policy moves as we do that? And then you adding this idea of, and how are we telling the story along the way, and or even how are all of those entities, our students, our communities, like co-authors in that story? It's such an important piece. I heard a keynote on Monday, and that idea around, there are community members that had one experience in school 25 years ago that forms their whole basis for how they show up and judge schools. And the only way to change that is to bring them in and rewrite that, right? So tell me about your work, the intersection of that and everything else you do.
In 2 minutes, sure, no problem. So I'm Director of K-12 and Teacher Education for the Institute for Humane Education, and I lead a team which is working with teachers, leaders, educators across the country and around the world to teach their students to be change makers, which I think is one big piece of this.
Yes.
So it's a dispositional piece, and it's a way of generating agency and optimism in a time when kids are disengaged and feeling like, this world has so many issues, what can I do? And it's also a way to put them in this motivational context where you can coach skills.
Right.
And so I think about like CTE centers. I think about when students who are powerfully drawn to the arts get really good arts education. They are in this motivational space where they want to be even better. They want to do it even more. And so they're open to coaching, just like athletes when they're playing on the field. They're open because they want to be better. And so I feel like we've always in education, we've forefronted those skills and that whole list of things that we're supposed to be checking off at the, at the same time and all that. And that should always be in service of the things that kids are interested in, they want to do, they want to achieve.
Right.
But we also have to think about how do we educate humans who are caring, compassionate, curious, inspired people.
Yeah.
Because without that, we're even in more trouble.
Yeah, we are. And the piece that you shared, right? Like the art student immersed in that, the student athlete immersed in that, right? Like Dr. Young Zhao talked a little bit about, actually leaning into like what you're good at, and letting go of some of the other things. Now that doesn't mean we don't need this, I think, baseline of like knowledge and knowing to be able to navigate a complex world, but drilling in this kind of mandatory set for all versus really touching a personal journey. We could talk forever, but we don't have forever. So I want to make sure listeners know, how do they get in touch with you? They hear you, they see you, and they want to be part of that work. Let them know how to get in touch with you.
Okay. Well, you can go to our website, which is humaneeducation.org with 2 E's in the middle. Humane, not just human. Humane education, creating humane systems that support thriving. You can find me on LinkedIn, Julie Meltzer, and you can also just email me, julie@humaneeducation.org, and I promise I'll answer.
Awesome. Julie, thank you so much for being at Deeper Learning New York, the East Coast version of what they do out there. We continue to grow. We've got our dates next year, so my only ask is bring more friends.
I will do that.
And thank you so much. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you so much.
All right.
You as well. Bye-bye.
Bye.